By linguistics, we mean Western linguistics. So it's a kind of a scientific discipline that arose in the 19th century, and which is the study, the scientific study of natural language. And this is a topic that slowly emerged. Well, in the old days, people were trying to express grammars. There are Latin grammars of the... Actually, Julius Caesar, the emperor, made a Latin grammar at about 2,000 years ago. But this was not really recognized as an intellectual discipline until the 19th century. The first Western linguist recognized as such is Ferdinand de Saussure, who was a Swiss linguist in the 19th century. And then it caught on and it became more mathematical. So first it was considered as a part of humanities, and now it's more formal, more mathematical domain to some extent. So this situation is to be contrasted to Indian linguistics, because Indian linguistics started very early, since we have this Ashtadhyayi, by Panini, which is, 4th, 5th century before Christ, very, 25 centuries ago. And Panini was certainly not the first grammarian, so there was a whole tradition. So it was already a recognized science, recognized Shastra in India, yes. And it was deemed very important because somehow this is a Vyakarana that was the basis of logical argumentation. So it was really at the basis of scientific discovery. As opposed to the Western tradition, which started with the Greeks, and the basis of reasonable argumentation was more based on mathematics. So it's a tradition of logic and mathematical logic and so on. So that gives a quite different flavor. So that's in this atmosphere that Sanskrit arose. Because Sanskrit is not quite a natural language. The corresponding natural language is Prakrit. Prakrit was spoken by people in everyday situation. And it was refined as Sanskrit, as some kind of formal language in which you could make rigorous argumentation of the kind that Madam was explaining with this Koraka analysis and so on. Okay? So that's why grammar was recognized very early as an important Shastra in India. And it has developed its own notions that are well fit to the Sanskrit language. Okay? So here we have a difficulty in trying to fit the Western linguistic terminology with the traditional terminology arising from the Trimuni and all the commentators. Yes, which is very precise notions, but notions that are adapted to the Sanskrit language, and that may not be so well adapted to other languages. For instance, we have the notion of syntax. That's very important in Western linguistics. Why? Because syntax is very important for English, or French, or German. Syntax is some kind of requirement of the structure of Vakya, that things should be said before the other, and so on. Whereas in Sanskrit you have vibhakti, which allows you to recognize the role of a word in a sentence independently of its place in the sentence. Okay? So syntax is much less important. See? We say that Sanskrit is a free word order language. Okay? In English you have to say things in the right order. Yes? Or else you will confuse your intention if you permutate the role of the subject and the object. Okay, so the notions don't quite fit. So it's a difficulty in understanding, what we mean by this Western terminology in terms of Sanskrit, and conversely. Okay, so I shall attempt in the first part of this course to give a few Western linguistics notions, and then we shall try to relate them to corresponding notions in Vyakarana. Okay? But we have to be aware that this is not a one-to-one correspondence. Okay? So it's a source of difficulty. So in Western linguistics we distinguish various levels in the grammar. The grammar is some kind of general rule telling you why a sentence is correct, makes sense, or it could be considered in the reverse direction as how to produce a correct sentence for an intended meaning, intended artha, or intended phala. If you want to reach a certain communication goal, then you have to utter certain things. Okay, so it is mediation between the vakya, the sentences, and the artha, the senses. And this mediation is explained by layers in between the two, the shabda and the artha. So the first layer is phonetics or phonemics. So I already discussed yesterday the relation between the two. That this is the kind of physical world where you have, continuous processes and so on. And here you have a non-continuous, a discrete partitioning of the sounds into sounds that can be distinguished. So this is this distinguishing role of the phonemes. Okay, but this is basically one layer. So here I'm writing Western, and here I'm writing Indian or Sanskrit tradition. In first approximation, we can say that this is what concerns Sandhi. Is there some more general terminology that would fit phonetics? Shiksha. Okay. Yeah, shiksha is a shiksha also. It comprises prosody, isn't it? No. Okay. So just phonetics. Shiksha. The next level, so the level of basically basic sounds or letters, so the really atomic level of utterances. then you group them in order to make words. So the level of the structure of words is morphology. Morphology, I would translate by vredi. Vredi?
Pada-nishpadana. Pada-nishpadana, pada-vishleshana. Okay.
But vredi is the process that explains how to develop morphology, isn't it?
Vritti is one of the processes. There can be guna, vritti, various processes.
Okay.
Nishpadana. Vyutpadaka?
Nishpadakam.
But yesterday we were discussing this with structure. We were discussing this with sir, and he said instead of Nishpadaka, he is Nishpadana. That is better.
But this is the causative. That's a different question. That's the causative.
Yes, generator is Nishpadana. And analysis is Vishleshana. So where is this Nishpadana coming in?
But for a general term or
For yes. So
you don't want causative.
no, I do not want position.
Okay, so we'll leave it for workshop session to discuss the various meanings of these terms, how do they relate. But at the level of...
The general term for morphology is
Vyutpatti.
But this discussion showed that, it's a delicate concept because, is it the layer? Is it the way you construct words in this layer? Is it the way you analyze words in this layer? So this will correspond to different precise Sanskrit notions, okay? But basically, it's the analysis of nouns, of words. So here we have phonemes. Here we have words. And again, what's a word, Is it pratipadika? Is it pada? Oh, so you go into refinement. So we could argue for 1 hour on what is the right translation of word. Next level is syntax. What's important is to get the feeling of what means this layer, so that when you go if you go to the bookstore and buy a book on general linguistics, there will be one chapter on phonetics, one chapter on morphology, one chapter on syntax, one chapter on semantics, one chapter on pragmatics, okay, and here this will treat of words, here this will treat of some structure of sentence. But as I said at the beginning, this layer is not very developed in Sanskrit, because you have this kind of free word order, which is opposed to this idea of rigidity of syntax. Syntax tells you have to do some utterance before another. You have to do things in a certain order. You have to do things inside something. Okay? It's like when you write a mathematical expression. See? When you write 2 times x plus y, then there is a certain syntax. For instance, an open parenthesis must be before the corresponding closing parenthesis. Okay? And if you put this expression inside the bigger expression, you have to match the parenthesis. Okay? So syntax is about this kind of rigidity of how to recognize the structure of a certain sentence. So in syntax, in Sanskrit, there are syntactic rules. Yes, here and there. But it's like, for instance, if you use saha with, then you must use it with tritiya. Okay? Ramena saha. Okay. So here, it is a choice of saha. You want to say with Rama. Okay, so you say saha. But then you have this constraint that before saha, the person you're with must be in tritiya. Okay, so this is syntactic constraint. Then you have other rules like the use of cha coordination. Rama, Sita, cha.
Cha. Ramaha, Sita, cha. Ramaha, Lakshmanaha, cha.
Vanam gachanti. They have to meet with Devadatta, you know. You have also like relative clause. Okay, so what's a relative clause? It's like when you say, like in Mahabharata, it says yat iha asti tat anyatra. Yat naya asti natat kvachit. Okay, so this shloka, it has two relative clauses, and the relative clauses relate the ya and the tat. Okay, so you have this balancing between the two clauses with this pronouns ya and sa, tad, that are linked together. Okay, so this is syntax. This is kind of constraint. Okay, but it's more a variety of small concern than that, than some kind of general framework in Sanskrit syntax. So this is something which is less important than in English, for instance. Because if you say, you know, cat eats mouse, yes, okay, so that's, you know what it means. But if you permute the order, you know, mouse eats cat, then it means something else. Yes, so why do you need this rigidity? You need the rigidity because cat and mouse, they have lost their vibhakti. Okay, so you don't know which is karta, which is karma. This is bad karma for the mouse, by the way.
This is?
It's bad karma for the mouse.
Yes, bad karma.
Okay, so then we have semantics. So syntax, I don't know how to translate syntax in Sanskrit. Is there some?
Yesterday, when Barkhade was discussing this, he said akara. He used two words, akara and artha. Akara is the structure or the syntax. Okay. This is the term which he used from natural word which he used. So maybe we can consider akara itself. But Narayanmurthy is not agreeing with this. Yes?
How about pada-pāṭha?
Huh?
Pada-pāṭha.
Anupurvi is better. Pada-pāṭha, Pada-pāṭha. Acha. Okay, then Anupurvi is used in the Nyaya text. Huh?
So you see the difficulty. See, so I have this basic difficulty about discussing this kind of topic. Yes, because if I ask the Sanskrit Pandits, how should I say that? And they say, oh, you should say this. No, you should say that. No, and it's unending. So it's almost hopeless. Okay, let's move on. The next is pragmatics. No, I did not discuss semantics first. Semantics, I would say it's after. Artha, meaning. And again, people will not agree. They will say, no, it's not artha, it's something else. But in first approximation is artha. And actually, the more we go down in this hierarchy, or sometimes people draw it differently, it's going up, but the more fuzzy the notions are, and the less mathematical the notions are. See, at the level of phonology, it's very mathematical. You know Panini Sutra, it's like mathematical equations. In the computational world, it's like rewriting rules. Okay, so there is no ambiguity of application. You know exactly what you're talking about. You can make precise reasoning. You can make mathematical statements. Semantics is a lot more elusive. What is the meaning of a word? It's not something that you can number, that you can weight, that you can evaluate in precise ways, and so on. So it's very elusive. So the more we go into a notion that go toward the goal of communication, the harder it is to really pinpoint quantitatively what are the notions that we are manipulating. So it's going to be hard to compute semantic notions. Okay. Sometimes computer scientists are very overly optimistic. So they think, with a computer you can do everything. You can do semantics, and then we'll put semantics on the web. Then we'll have semantic web. And this will solve all the problems in the world. Yes, this is very naive. Yes. So when you have this kind of people, telling you, we'll put it in semantic webs. This will grade papers automatically, and this and that. So I say, okay. So what is semantics? How do you measure it, and so on. And then the answer is mumble. So we have to be aware of this difficulty. The notions become more imprecise, so it's going to be harder to put it on the computer and have reliable results. Actually, in semantics, there are two rather different varieties of semantics. There is the semantics that somehow percolates from the syntax. It's the kind of semantics in which it's this theater I was alluding to yesterday. You have roles and you try to assign roles and so on. And this is exactly translatable in what Madame did this morning. It's Koraka Analysis. Okay, so Koraka Analysis is a way of manipulating meaning in this sense that you have some kind of situation that you describe with several actors, and then certain words can fit certain roles because of vibhakti, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So this is some kind of discourse semantics. But you have another kind of semantics. It is the meaning of the words themselves. Okay? So this is called lexical semantics. Lexical semantics because this is what the dictionary is used for. When you want to know the meaning of a word, you go in the lexicon, you go in the dictionary, and then you get its meaning or its meanings. Okay? And so semantics is actually a composition of these two views. You know, what words fit certain roles and what is the meaning of individual words. Okay, so it's when you combine this notion that you have some kind of general picture of what this sentence means. So here I will couple it into Koraka Analysis and Lexical Semantics. What is it? Pada-pāṭha? Okay. So it's pretty clear. Now pragmatics. Pragmatics. So now it's really still more fuzzy. It's what is the communication goal? Why do you say things? You know, you're not just talking just to say, you know, this is the morning, the sun is bright and shining. You know, I mean, you're not communicating anything. Yes, well, when you want to communicate something, then you're giving information, like you're teaching. Or perhaps you're giving orders, you know, get out. So that's pragmatics, you know, that's what you want to achieve by an act of speech. Okay, so I would translate that in Sanskrit by phala. It's the fruit of the vakya. You know, what you want to achieve as goal. Tatparya. But again, we see that we have some kind of, you know, general word that evoke the meaning of the layer, and then more technical word that refer to a certain process in this layer. I forgot to say something about lexical semantics. There is a delicate notion which arises about dictionary usage. Yes, it's that the meaning is something a little bit fuzzy, a little bit vague, so we have to assign to words a meaning which, you know, may overlap with the meaning of other words. And then two words may mean the same thing. Okay, but when do we decide that these two meanings is the same word, or is it really two different words? No? So it's a problem of the distinction between homophony and polyceme. So homophony is when you have two distinct notions with one word. Like we went through this example of Shveta Dharvati. Okay? So Dharvati, we have this ambiguity between running and cleaning. Okay? So these are two different actions. One verb is transitive, the other one is intransitive, yes, but it's dav. And it's dav of Ghana 1, Pratama Gana, both. So it's really your decision to say, okay, I'm going to put two entries in my dictionary. One is the have 1 and one is the have 2. Okay, and this 1 and 2 is the homophony index. Okay, whereas inside a given the definition of a word, then you have all this variety, all these shades of meaning, and this is polysemy. That is, a word has shades of meaning. Like Gana, I say Gana for class of verbs, but it means number in general. It means a troop, army. It means the Gana of Ganapati, Shiva Gana. It may mean the Gana of Vyakarana, etc. Okay, so this is, but we are not going to have one entry for all of these Ganas, yes, because when we say Gana in the sense of troop, it's because we have many soldiers. Okay, so it's the same idea as number. Okay, so this is polysemy. Okay? So now that you understand clearly the distinction between homophony and polysemy, I will turn to Madam to translate the two terms, please.
Homophony and polysemy, both homonymy and polysemy, nanarthaka. Both of them are nanarthaka. But in one case, the meaning is related. So we do not have any word. Yes. No. Aneka nanarthaka is there. Both of them are nanarthaka. But in one case you see the continuity there. So you can find one, the pravrutti nimitta, which covers all the meanings. Yes. Maybe they will be familiar with the example of Hari, which has so many meanings. But all of them are related. How? Hari is Sarpa, Hari is Vanara, Hari is Simha. How all of them are related? Harati iti Hari.
Papam harati, pranam harati.
Okay. So, Vanar, he will snatch all your, he will take all your fruits, clothes, etc. Simha, pranam harati. Vishnu, papam harati. So that harana kriya, this is the main, this is the pravrutti nimitta here. For using Hari for all, we are able to use this word Hari in all these various contexts because of this common meaning. Now let us take another example where the two meanings are unrelated. For example, the word dhav, the dhatu dhav, both the meanings are unrelated. Dhava, shuchi, gatau. One gati shuchau. Gati shuchi. So one is gati and the other one is shuchi. So there is no commonness in these two different meanings. So we do not have a word in in traditional grammar for homonymy and polysemy as such, but polysemy we cover with the idea of notion of pravrutti nimitta. Okay, there is one pravrutti nimitta which covers all the meanings, whereas here there is no single pravrutti nimitta. Both the meanings are totally unrelated. Saindhavam, Saindhava. Is it polysemy, case of polysemy or homonymy? What are the two meanings? What are the two meanings? One is Ashva, the other one is Lavanam. These are not related? Sindhu, yes. So if you look at the etymology, vyutpatti of this, Saindhavam, Sindhu se jo utpanna hua hai. So we have Ashva as well as Lavana both. They are related to Sindhu, and therefore there is same pravrutti nimitta, but then because so if you look at the etymology, you can see the commonness, why you are able to use this word in two different contexts. Okay.
So you see, it's a difficulty. It's a difficulty, I mean, especially when we go into implementing our systems, yes, so we have to implement the lexicon, and for the lexicon structure we have to take these decisions, and these decisions are not clear-cut. Even for homophony, even if we agree, Madam and me, that DAV1 and DAV2 are unrelated. So we must have two entries in the dictionary, DAV1 and DAV2. Okay, so we go each one on our side, yes, and I say DAV1 is running and DAV2 is cleaning. But Madam has decided that DAV1 was cleaning and DAV2 was running. You know, because there is no guide on how to number them, yes. So now we mix the two systems, we send one result of one system to another, then it doesn't make sense, yes, because we are not connecting the two together. Okay, so we have to agree on the level of homophony, we have to agree on the ordering of the various homophones, and this can lead to some heated discussions. Yes, like vid, for instance, you know, vidyate, vite, and so on, you know, how many vid do you have? Oh, you have vid knowing, you have vid finding. They are probably related, you know. So these are two meanings that emerge from a common idea of finding something, yes. But they got specialized, so you have different forms and so on, so you have two entries, yes. But how many dhatus do we have? I don't think we'll ever agree on that. I mean, we'll need many discussions, yes? Because Madam would say, oh, in this pada-pāṭha, you have this, Gana 1, Gana 6, so these are different dhatus, yes? And I say, no, come on, these are just, the present system, but so I want to have only one root, I don't want to multiply the roots because it means multiply the choices and this is expensive, so we need lots of discussion. See? This is not something, this is obvious, this is not something which is decided by the structure of the Sanskrit language. See? Even if we agree completely on what means every sentence and so on, still we have to have lots of conventions in order to implement these notions. But it's always a pleasure to argue with Madam. Okay, so the layers I've described so far, is that clear? Clear for everybody? I mean, this is very simple, isn't it? Okay? All right. So all these layers, they pertain to the sentence structure. Sentence, Madam? Vakya. But Vakya, you think you understand what's Vakya, yes? But how do you communicate to the computer what is Vakya? Eh? The computer can recognize shloka. Yes, if you're in shloka slide because you have danda. Okay, so the computer will recognize the shloka and half shloka and so on. But where is the Vakya? Vakya may stop in the middle of the shloka. Oh, how do you decide? Okay, so here there is a difficulty. Okay, and a text in general is not just one sentence. When we speak, we tend to speak by sentences, but when we speak, it's not so much correct syntax. Yeah, we stop, we repeat things. Okay, so these are not really sentences, oral expression. Unlike people like Peter, for instance, who is a really master of his speech, and every utterance in his lesson will be a perfect sentence in English. Okay, but this is rare. Yes, usually people have a more loosey way of expressing themselves. You start a sentence and then you let the speaker complete it in his mind, and you change topic without finishing the sentence and so on. So, if we want to, and then when you put things on paper, on writing, then you tend to have more master of the correctness, to write sentence after sentence, but then you have to deal with a full text. So in order to understand the text, it's not enough to understand the meaning of each sentence. Okay, so this is the next level of understanding of natural language. This is called discourse. Discourse, madam? Mahavakya. Very good name, excellent name. So in Mahavakya we have things like iti. Iti, for instance, is a tool word that is used as some kind of sentence separator. Yes, because it separates an utterance of somebody to somebody else, the speaker who is quoting, typically. Panini iti, yes, as said by Panini. Okay, so you're speaking for somebody else, then you put iti, and then okay, so this is a discourse combinator, we say. To the discourse analysis belong also Anaphora Resolution. Anaphora Resolution, it's a big word. The easiest case of Anaphora Resolution is pronoun resolution. It's to understand what pronouns refer to. Okay. Pronoun, it means it's in the place of some noun. Okay, so it's some kind of abbreviation that refers to something else. So you have personal pronouns like aham is the speaker, and tvam is the person spoken to, and sa is some third person, is devadatta somewhere, going to the woods probably. And then you have other pronouns that are, the relative pronouns and so on. Pronoun, madam?
Sarvanama.
Sarvanama. So associating to a sarvanama, what is the piece of discourse that it refers to, this is called anaphora resolution. You're finding in the text, devadattaha vanam gacchati, sa palam kadati. So what is sa? Sa is devadattaha. Okay? But, it's obvious for you. How do you tell the machine? Okay? So you have to understand what are the rules, what is the algorithms to find devadattaha. You don't find it in the vana, you find it in the previous sentence. Yes? Okay? So this is there a general name for anaphora?
Server, we do not have any. The सर्वनाम, how do you सर्वनामों के अर्थों का निर्धारण कैसे करें? हाँ, so but then you have to decide which one is the
Saha refers to Devadatta. This you have to decide. How do you come to the conclusion that here Saha refers to Devadatta? Devadatta Ramena Saha Vanam Gacchati. Saha Tatra Phalam Khadati. Is it Rama or Devadatta? Who is eating the fruit? Why not Rama? Purva Paramarsha. Acha, Anaphora Resolution is Purva Paramarsha. This is what he is saying. Okay. Purva Paramarsha. But sometimes you can also have the following. You resolve it later on.
Okay, so we shall not go into details here, but you get the idea, yes? You get the idea that there is some work to do, that we have to understand these notions, and we have to tell the machine how to implement search for the right resolution of the pronoun and so on, okay? This is not easy. The more we go down the line, the harder it gets. But all this is needed if you want to understand the text. Then you have notions like topic, the theme and the rime, what you're talking about. Like in Ramayana, you have this, the Rishi, what's the name of the Rishi in Ramayana who explained to Valmiki, the one who explains to Valmiki, Narad. So Narad is telling Valmiki, there is this guy, he's great, he's strong, he's a big king, he's muscular, he's generous, he has the neck as a shanka, so it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and it's just adjective after adjective after adjective, okay? So who is this guy? Oh, so it's only, way later that it's Ram, okay? So it's the theme, it's the topic. We're talking about Ram. We're not talking about Devadatta. Okay, so you must keep track of what is the topic, because the sentences are linked together. See, all these adjectives, they are all qualifiers of Ram. Okay? So if you don't make that explicit somehow in your computer program, you're not going to understand, why are all these adjectives, how they are related together. They are related to this ellipsed king, which is Ram. Okay. So this is the kind of notions that are discussed in discourse analysis. Okay? And then sometimes you make a discourse, then somebody else does another discourse. Like Madame jumps in and says, wait a minute. Okay? So that's an important concept. It's turn of speech. Turn of speech. See, you have one speaker, and now it's the other turn. It's like chess, you have a player and its opponent. It's your turn, it's the opponent's turn. Okay, you have to understand. If you have to solve a chess problem, you have to know which turn it is. Is it white or is it black? In order to understand the chess problem. Yes? So turn of speech is a turning point in discourse because you have another person. Okay, so we are getting into multi-locator utterance. Okay, so this is usually called dialogue because it starts with two locutors. Dialogue. And that's still another layer. And this is the hardest. This is the hardest because in order to understand dialogue, then you must understand not only what each person is saying, but why is it saying it, Why is it the other person's turn? Why is she interrupting me? Yes? It's pala. Yes, I'm saying something wrong. So she jumps in and starts speaking. So in order to, if you want the computer to understand this situation, you have to make the pragmatic analysis of why this interruption, why is it your turn, why do you speak? When the priest is doing the pada-pāṭha ceremony, you know, the wedding ceremony, yes, it's the priest that is speaking. Yes. So whatever is uttering, you know, Vedic shloka and so on, it's not just the meaning of the shloka that is important. What is important is that it is the priest that is speaking. Eh? Only he can speak. Okay? So here you really need pragmatics. Okay? So it's a basic description of the various levels of natural language. Okay? So that you understand what we have to, the notions we have to deal with, and the next step is how to express these notions clearly enough that the dumb computer can understand them. Yes? Because at the bottom line, the computer is infinitely dumb. Okay, so you have to spell out everything for him. Okay? So this is very important about computers. You know, you have to liberate yourself from the idea that the computer understands anything. The computer understands nothing. Yes? You're giving instructions to the computer to make certain computations. And these computations will finally compute something which is, you know, related to your goal into computing something, into expressing something, and so on. Yes, but it is the programmer with, if he has clear enough notions to express in his programs, that will really achieve the goal. And the computer is just this dumb piece of electronics that will go through zeros and ones in order to make the computation. Yes? So don't think there is any magic in the computer. People who are not computer scientists tend to put some magic in the computer. Yes, but this is just Maya. The computer is basically dumb. So we have to do all the work for the computer. So we have to be extremely precise in the way we say, okay, we are going to implement something that is consistent with Ashtadhyayi, so we must understand precisely what are the rules of Ashtadhyayi, when the rule is Siddha, when the rule is Asiddha, this, that, okay? Don't expect the computer to know what is the next shloka to apply. Okay, now that we understand this notion of layers, there are two ways of understanding how to make computations or how to use the grammar, and going this way, going down this way, it's analysis. Whereas going that way is synthesis. Or generation, if you prefer. So you can argue, you know, what is the grammar for? Is it for one purpose or for the other? So some people talk about generative grammars, for instance. Generative grammar, that means, okay, you have you know what you want to say. You have the artha, okay? But you are using the rules of the grammar in order to know how to say it, okay? So you have to go this way from the meaning, from the artha. From the artha, then you have lexical semantics, so you choose words in the dictionary. Yes. You must give the right roles to the words. So this is Koraka Analysis. Okay. Then the vibhakti must be consistent with Koraka. Okay. So it tells you which vibhakti to use at these various words. So now we are down up to morphology. Okay. Now we have the pada. How do we put the pada together? This is sandhi. Okay, so we go through the morphophonemics layer, and that's it. We can write in Devanagari. Okay, so this is the use of the grammar in generation. So one way of using the Ashtadhyayi, for instance, in this way, you say, okay, this is what I want to say, and then you go through all the steps, and you apply all the rules, and you check all the constraints, and then you get the pada. But the grammar may be used another way. Yes, is that the Shishya is saying something, and the Acharya is asking, oh, what you're saying, why is it correct? Why is it correct? Okay, then you have to go in the reverse direction, and you have to say, oh, master, I did this, I did that, and all this is consistent, and so it's more the analysis way. Okay, and this is what we are trying to achieve with our software. Okay. It's analysis. Okay, so it's the reverse of generation. So if you look at Panini's grammar, Ashtadhyayi, so if your view of Ashtadhyayi is that you're generating the speech from the communication intention, yes, then what we are doing with our computers is not that at all, it's the reverse. It's the reverse. Okay? So, often when I show my software, some pandits say, oh, but this is not Panini, this is not according to Trimuni. Because it's not the same process, yet it's going in reverse. Okay, so you have a kind of strict way of being Paninian as a generative device, and here we just want to be Paninian in the reverse sense. Yes, that the analysis we do is consistent with Panini in the sense that by going in reverse, we can obtain the original sentence that was input. Okay, and this notion is not so clear-cut, analysis and synthesis. Okay, like a lot of the linguists are arguing between themselves. Do you have these layers in Ashtadhyayi? Do you really go in this order? Because you have intermixing of layers. So it's more complicated than this simplistic picture. Yes. You have rules in Ashtadhyayi that say, if you use this word in this meaning, then you can use this vibhakti. See, you have intermixing of levels. Okay, because the rules of morphology are driven by the artha in that case. Okay, so it's a little bit more delicate. You have intermixing, and you have people like Professor Huben who's arguing, Ashtadhyayi is, in order to use Ashtadhyayi, you need not only artha, what you want to speak, but you need also the vakya, the utterance. And then with the two, you can follow Panini. Okay? So it's one way of viewing Panini. we shall have a tea break, and then I will go more into this this topic. But somehow, in the synthesis way, it's more deterministic. You have less choices. Yes, you apply rules one after the other. Whereas in analysis, you have many choices. So it's more non-deterministic. You have to make choices. Okay? So, so people who claim to use ashtadhyayi in a deterministic way, yes, you need both. You need both the intention, the meaning you want to convey, and the sentence. And then with the two, you can follow ashtadhyayi, and at every point, you have enough information to make the decision between the alternatives. Then it becomes deterministic. Okay? Whereas if you have only the intent, then it's non-deterministic, so you have to make guesses. You have to make guesses. Okay? And then it's non-deterministic, and then it's more complicated, as I will explain. And when you go in analysis, then it's very non-deterministic. You have many, many choices. Yes? Because you don't know what you want to express. You don't know what are the words. You don't know nothing. You have only this Devanagari that you are trying to break arbitrarily with Sandhi, and then you try to undo Vibhakti, and you try to look in the dictionary and so on, and you have all these choices. Okay? And so this is very complex and costly. So we shall resume after tea break. It's non-deterministic. So determinism, non-determinism, this is related to what I told yesterday about information contents. See? Non-deterministic is a kind of random choice, like I'm flipping the coin. Yes, you don't know whether it's 0 or 1. So you have to make a guess at what will be the outcome, whether 0 or 1. When the coin lands, now you know if I should go left or if I should go right. Okay, so it's deterministic. Okay, so let's have an analogy of, we are looking for the meaning of the sentence. And the analogy is that we are visiting this museum. And in this museum, we are interested in the main piece, some Nataraj, which is in some room, we don't know where. Yes, but the museum has many doors. So in every room, you have one left door, one right door. So you're looking for Nataraj. So you're going, if you don't know where to go, if you don't have the map, then you have to search for Nataraj in the museum. Okay, so you start left, and you go. Then you enter some other room, yes, and again you have the choice. Shall I go left, shall I go right? Okay, so you keep going until you find a Nataraj. But sometimes you arrive at dead alley, so this is not Nataraj, this exhibition is finished. So you have to backtrack. You have to backtrack in the museum and take some different choices. Okay? So it's very costly. Whereas, if the museum has planned for it, there will be signs saying here for the rest of the exhibition, you see. Okay? So you follow the path here to the rest of the exhibition, and now it's deterministic. Everybody is following the same path. And everybody is going to see Nataraj at the end. Without backtracking. Okay? So backtracking is very costly. So how costly this is, you can understand by drawing some little diagram. We call it a tree because it has a tree shape. See? At every room, you have this choice between left and right. Left and right. Left and right. Etc. So see, I'm flipping the coin in every room. Okay, so I'm going every path is one of these zigzags. How many zigzags are there? See, how many places can I visit here? Here I can visit 2 rooms. I have one choice. Then you have one path, and you will get directly to Nataraj. If you're searching, then you may have to go in all these spots here, and you have to the end ways. So there is a story of this Indian king who was fond of playing chess. And there was this poet at his court who gave this beautiful poem. And the king said, "Oh, such a beautiful poem, so tell me what reward you want." And the poet said, "Oh, I don't want much." So he looked at the chessboard and he said, "I just want 1 grain of rice in this square, and then 2 in the next one, and then 4 in the next one." Yes? And the king said, "Okay, no problem." So he told his vizier, give the man his rice, no problem. Yes? And the vizier made some kind of computation and he said, "Sir, we can do it." Yes, because what is the number now? It's 2 to the how much? The number of grains of rice?
Follow the question.
64. Yes, 8 by 8, it's 64. So you need 2 to the 64 grains of rice to give to the poet. So how much is 2 to the 64? In Sanskrit, you have all these numbers to say big numbers. So what is 2 to the 64? I don't even know. See? It's about 10 to the 20. And for instance, we have 10 to the 10. It's called karva. Karva. Karva is a number of rupees that Kuber has. It's one of the treasures of Kuber. Yes? Karva. So he has Karva rupees. So even Kuber cannot do, because you need Karva Kuber in order to cover the chessboard. See? See how enormous this is? Okay? So this gives you an idea of why we want to avoid no determinism. Yes? Because if we go into making too many choices in our software, then we are in the same predicament as the king. Yes, we are trying to do something which is impossible, intractable. Okay, so we have to understand in our software at which point we make choices, and we have to understand that we are not making too many of these choices in sequence, otherwise we run into this problem. And no computer in the world will be big enough to complete the task. Okay?